Happy New Year. It's 2026, and this is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop with you each and every weekday morning. After having the last week of the year off, decided to just cut off the news from my brain for a bit. It was much needed. Unplug, get out, see family, see friends, do some self-care, that type of thing. So hopefully you as well were able to get together with family and enjoy the holidays. But here we are. It's a short work week for me. Only got one day here, Friday, and then I'm going to be taking the weekend, obviously. But we'll be back in full force Monday. Tons of stuff going on this year. Obviously, we've got the 2026 election cycle. With the March primary, now, 2-3 months away? March 17th is when that's going to kick off, and obviously that'll lead us into the November general election. With Governor J.B. Pritzker facing an opponent of some kind at some point with the March primary for Republicans, looking to go through a field of 5, maybe 4 candidates. Obviously, all of this going to come into place as the State Board of Elections prepares to finalize that ballot. But that's going to be on our radar. Obviously, the midterm election and the impact on Congress. But then also leading up to the 2028 election. Yes, I know, believe it or not, but we're going to be talking a lot about that in the year ahead as people get into place for the 2026 election. Also, we've got the ongoing issues around possible fraud in federal spending that states manage. Plenty being focused on Minnesota and what's going on there with child care fraud. Other states looking into this. We've got indication here that we're going to be taking a look at Illinois' child care assistance program a bit. So we may touch on just the overall general sense of fraud heading into 2026. And how the taxpayers should have some accountability for how that money's being spent. So we'll do that. Also, we've got to delve into the latest about the use of the National Guard in Illinois, as you've got ongoing issues of concerns of crime and more. But while we were out from Illinois in Focus Daily, the team with the Center Square still very busy, and be sure to go check out thecentersquare.com/Illinois, where you can go get the newsletter with the latest headlines in your inbox. So again, go check it out, where you can see some of the latest, including Chicago passing a budget. That did happen. So the Chicago City Council came together, passed a budget just before Christmas, and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson not signing it, but also not vetoing it. He's just allowed it to be enacted. So interesting to hear some of the points of criticism he had of the budget, including it not including his head tax. So Chicago has a new budget. But also you're waking up this new year with a ton of new laws in the state of Illinois. 281 public acts went into effect in 2026. So January 1, you have all of these different laws, 280 plus, going into effect. And you've got a whole host of things. And we've covered a lot of this throughout the year as it was being passed, but that's to begin your new year for 2026. And the Tax Foundation highlighting Illinois changed its grocery tax. So no longer that 1% statewide tax on groceries in effect. That is now done as of yesterday. And that was enacted back in August of 2024, leading up to it. And ultimately what it did is it allowed for municipalities to increase their grocery tax to 1%. So the state wouldn't be doing it, but the local community is going to be doing it. And a lot of communities have done so across the state of Illinois. But additionally, another tax impacting consumers. It's going to eliminate its 200 transaction economic nexus threshold for remote sellers and retaining its $100,000 sales threshold. And that's as part of the budget that was passed as well. So some tax changes, some new laws impacting everything from rabies examinations and requirements for pets to, I mean, gosh, 280. It's hard to pick out of that as to what are some of the biggest ones, but obviously a lot there as we scroll through just the scores of new laws on the books for Illinoisans. All right, stay tuned. Tons to tackle here with Illinois in Focus Daily for this Friday. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell here with the Center Square. President Donald Trump removing the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, according to the latest Truth Social post from the president. Good morning. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here as we break down things happening in Illinois and across the country and how it's impacting you. And we've got, of course, the ongoing battle between the Trump administration and states like Illinois, where you have concerns about crime and how the federal government's reacting to that. All right, so get the latest. Go to Illinois' page for the Center Square, where I'm the editor. My name's Greg Bishop. Thank you for being with us each and every weekday morning. And you can get the latest in your inbox by getting the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. But let's go ahead and take a look at the latest here from President Donald Trump. He says we're removing the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, despite the fact that crime has been greatly reduced by having these great patriots in those cities, and only by that fact. Portland, Los Angeles, and Chicago were gone if it weren't for the federal government stepping in. We will come back, perhaps in much different and stronger form, when crime begins to soar again. Only a question of time. It's hard to believe that these Democrat mayors and governors, all of whom are greatly incompetent, would want us to leave, especially considering the great progress that has been made. President DJT. Now, some things in there, obviously getting reaction from the likes of Governor J.B. Pritzker. He shared on his social networks, Donald Trump is lying again. Pritzker says he lost in courts when Illinois stood up against his attempt to militarize American cities with the National Guard. Now Trump is forced to stand down. Pritzker continued, Illinois and Chicago have reduced crime with smart investments in police and community violence reduction programs. Meanwhile, Trump cut federal support for both. No matter how many lies he tells, we will keep standing up for the truth and against his abuse of power. Now, just to give some context and background, in October, after months of Trump saying that he was going to send in the National Guard to places like Chicago, he already had them in Washington, D.C., and he had them in L.A., and he had them in other states. And then he was teasing, we're going to put the Guard in Illinois, in Chicago. And sure enough, you have the president making that order in October, getting some Illinois National Guard and California National Guard to come to the land of Lincoln. And it wasn't even a day until the state sued. And in federal courts, that lawsuit siding with the state on preliminary grounds. And this is what's important. On preliminary grounds, the court said that the Trump administration didn't use the proper justification. But then you have, during the holidays, you have the National Guard essentially being blocked by the federal courts, and all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court on preliminary grounds. The Trump administration was asking the U.S. Supreme Court to come in and allow for it to have a presence in Chicago. But the Supreme Court blocked the Guard deployment to Chicago. If you read this story, this came out, of course, just a couple of days before Christmas. And our reporter Brett Rowland reporting this out, saying that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that President Donald Trump can't use the National Guard in Chicago to help federal immigration enforcement, in another blow to the president's push for federalizing public safety. The justice turned down the administration's emergency request to overturn a ruling by a district judge. So again, it's preliminary grounds, was not on the merits, but you have the majority in the Supreme Court saying at this preliminary stage, the government has failed to identify a source of authority that would allow the military to execute the laws in Illinois. Now, how did we get to this point? Illinois is a migrant sanctuary state. State and local law enforcement cannot cooperate with federal enforcement of immigration. And when ICE under the Trump administration came in to enforce federal immigration law, you had protesters getting in the face of ICE agents, blocking roadways to the ICE facility in Broadview, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. You had clashes continuing. The president did, in his order, to send in the National Guard, include that the National Guard was going to be protecting federal personnel and assets, property, for instance, and that was the rationale that they used. But of course, the Illinois State Police came in and they provided a barrier for the ICE facility in Broadview, but still some clashes between Illinois State Police and local police and protesters. Now, again, you get into the debate, well, are the state and local police protecting ICE officials, and is that cooperating with immigration enforcement, or is it just to keep order? But so while that debate continues, you had the federal debate in court about the use of the National Guard. And preliminary grounds, district judge said, no, you can't do it. They went to the Supreme Court immediately, and the Supreme Court said, no, preliminary grounds justification has not been made. State Representative Adam Niemerg, asked by the Center Square contributor Katrina Barker about the Trump administration and the use of federal agents. Niemerg discussed this a little bit about how there needs to be safety restored.
Whether it be Marines, National Guard, whatever they need to do to restore safety, because at the end of the day, kids, families should be able to walk down the Magnificent Mile, shop during the holiday seasons, and not feel scared to do it.
So Niemerg saying that, however the case may be, public safety needs to happen in Chicago. And if it's involving more federal agents or use of the Guard under certain provisions, like, for instance, the Insurrection Act, could the president declare an insurrection in Chicago and use the Guard in that fashion? Would that be the legal justification that the U.S. Supreme Court would say, yeah, president has that ability to use that particular power to utilize the Guard in public safety? So that doesn't seem to be the case, at least right now, with the latest statement from President Donald Trump. And Niemerg saying that if the Guard came in, the optics could be used against the president.
Fortunately, Governor J.B. Pritzker would use that as a political weapon for his presidential run. Governor J.B. Pritzker puts the safety and security of Illinois citizens last.
So again, back to President Donald Trump on New Year's Eve, saying that they are removing the National Guard from Chicago, Los Angeles, and Portland, despite the fact that crime has been greatly reduced, he says. But J.B. Pritzker, you've got the governor of Illinois, some saying that he's eyeing a bid for president, making the statements that Governor Pritzker is lying, saying that Illinois and Chicago have reduced crime with smart investments in policies and community violence reduction programs. Meanwhile, Trump cut federal support for both. No matter how many lies he tells, Pritzker said, we will keep standing up for truth and against his abuse of power. What's going to happen next? Obviously, continued reaction, and whether or not crime is under control in Chicago and how the president interprets that. Does it mean he's going to possibly declare an insurrection and move forward there? But it's a lot of moving pieces, no question, and a lot of concerns about public safety in the Windy City. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here for more and get the headlines in your inbox. Go to thecentersquare.com, sign up for the newsletter today, and stay informed. All right? You can also make a donation at thecentersquare.com or a free newswire service dedicated on getting out information to you, the taxpayer, and how you